Welcome to another edition of Member Spotlight. I'm your host, Curtis Dean, and today we're shining the spotlight on one of CBAN's associate members, RocNet Supply. And I'm really excited to have RocNet's Mike Baker. He is the CEO and co-founder of RocNet Supply on for our Member Spotlight today. Mike, thanks for agreeing to do this. And hey, thank you for being a CBAN associate member. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, Curtis.
Absolutely. Well, this is Member Spotlights, a chance to introduce our associate members and other members to the community. So tell me a little bit about RocNet Supply and maybe a little bit of the history behind the company.
Sure. Yeah, so RocNet Supply, we are a network solution provider. We founded the company, myself and a business partner, in 2014. We started the company as a secondary market hardware provider. So we were working with tier one, mostly cable operators, helping them pull out equipment from their existing networks. We would refurb and repurpose it for small operators, mostly cable companies across the US. We had a mission when we first started. It was bringing DOCSIS 3.0 to rural America. So we were mostly providing CMTS solutions for small cable operators. Fast forward, now our focus has shifted. We still have our secondary market business, which is strong, but our focus has really shifted towards open networks. So we do open network solutions and solutions built on open standards. So we help a lot of the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 service providers design, build, and implement their network solutions.
So let's talk a little about open networks. It is a term I'm somewhat familiar with, but I've also heard open networks in terms of access networks or like fiber optic networks. That's not what we're talking about. What are open networks in your context?
Sure. No, it's such a evolving part of the network that it's really interesting because there's a lot of lack of clarity around exactly what it is. So open networks are, we like to think of it this way. You have open networks, you have closed networks. Closed networks are the ecosystems where you are vendor locked into one type of solution. You are vendor locked into certain hardware, certain software. Hardware is made by one company, software is made by the same company, and they run together. We're building most of our solutions around disaggregated solutions that are open. So in terms of route switch, let's say we work with the hardware ODMs that are a variety of different hardware providers that can run multiple different types of software, of NOS on them. So you're open to choose which hardware vendor you want to work with and then which software solution works best for your application. The other thing that we're really focusing on building out in terms of our service provider solutions are networks that are open for interoperability. So ecosystems where you can mix and match because they're built on open standards. You can mix and match things like OLTs and ONTs where you're not pinned into that one set solution. So really it's the idea of you can own your entire network. You're not locked in anywhere and you've got the ability to work with multiple vendors, multiple providers, and really control your own destiny when it comes to building out your network solutions.
So you can help a provider develop the solution that's best for them and based on their criteria, and then you help them put it all together and make it work.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. So we have a portfolio of vendors that we work with that we've curated to confirm interoperability, confirm compatibility, and a service provider would come to us if they're trying to open a new market, if they're trying to deploy a new 400 gig routing solution, a new 10 gig XGS or 10 gig EPON solution. We've got the portfolio of vendors. We know all the technologies, and we're the ones that can help bring them all together and make them all work together, for lack of a better term.
Great. So you mentioned, curating or, evaluate. How do you evaluate the different solutions that are out there before you present them to a client?
So the rough around the edges answer is we put it in our test lab and see if we can break it. see what works, see what doesn't work. We have a team of engineers here that all come from service provider backgrounds. So our guys have lived it. They've built out networks for cable operators, for data center providers, for fiber builders. So they've done it. They've lived it. So we bring in a solution. We have a full test lab here in our facility in Rochester, New York, where we run 100 gig traffic all the way from the core to the CPE. And we will run any new solution through its paces. So we can confirm interoperability with field equipment, with CPE, with a transport layer, with route switch protocols. We can operate it with different controllers, things like our BNG solution. So really operate it here in our lab that emulates a true service provider, and see what works, what doesn't, and validate it here before anything goes live into our customers.
Yeah, that's a great way to evaluate options. Obviously, you don't want to put your name on something, a solution for a client, a customer, unless you know for a fact that you can present that without any guilt associated. I would imagine as part of that process, without naming names, of course, you've had to have some that didn't quite make the cut, right?
Yeah. Yep. We at any given point, we have 10 to 12 different vendors in our lab that we're running through the paces. Some of them will evaluate for years until either maybe we have the right solution that needs that specific application, and some of them just don't necessarily fit what our customers need. There's a lot of great solutions out there for targeted applications, right? You've got a lot of technologies that are built specifically for, let's say, higher education or healthcare or fintech or something like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they translate well for service providers. We try to aggregate which of those solutions are best for which end users. So in the service provider space, we do a really careful analysis of what's right for service providers, because we know that space. We know the operators in the market. We know what their needs are. We know what their unique challenges are. So we try to find really the things that fit the bill best.
So this idea of open networks, again, not being an engineer myself, not coming from a technical background, but knowing enough that when I go to shows, I see trends. This certainly seems like a trend that has legs. In other words, I've seen trends come and go in the past, and you're like, this is the next big thing, and then it falls off to the wayside. How are the non-open manufacturers solution providers out there, how are they reacting to this growth of open networks? Are they opening themselves, or are they trying to lock in their ecosystem even tighter?
We've seen a little bit of both. We've seen some that have decided to invest in open networking NOS operators. Pluribus, namely, was acquired a few years ago by Arista with their push into that space. So some of the large OEMs are really embracing that part of the market. Others, maybe not so much. What we are seeing is new names and new faces in the industry. There's your household names that you've seen for years. Everybody knows Cisco. Everybody knows Nokia. Everybody knows Juniper. The new names that are disrupting are companies like DriveNets. Most recently, they have won the business at AT&T and most recently Comcast to deploy their core network you're talking world-class networks. So they're companies that 10 years ago, nobody had heard of. And 10 years from now, they're going to be the new leaders in the industry, the names that you can't walk down a block without seeing a baseball stadium named after them, something like that. That's really what we're trying to embrace, is not necessarily there are industry standards, there are benchmarks that are, companies that have been solid for a long time and will continue to be that. We're trying to understand what's the landscape going to look like in 10 years, and how can we help our customers to start embracing those technologies and start meeting those vendors and exploring the different solutions that those vendors can really bring to the table.
So talk about some advantages at the customer level for open networks versus the more traditional legacy type closed, if you were, networks?
There's a few that always come to mind first. Flexibility is really the biggest one. You have so much adaptability and flexibility when it comes to open networking because you're not tethered to any single provider. So if company A comes out with new hardware before company B, you have the ability to change your hardware vendor while still running the same NOS, the same software solution that you had previously. If you decide that the NOS solution that you have isn't the right fit for you tomorrow, if there's a new vendor that comes out with new protocols, new feature sets, something that you need for your network, you can upgrade, you can change that vendor without having to go and rip and replace all of your hardware. We actually did that for a customer maybe 12 months ago. They had a network built on vendor A hardware. They loved the hardware. It met all of their qualifications, but they wanted to explore a new NOS vendor. So they were able to, simply by purchasing software and licensing from the new NOS vendor, our team was able to write a script that upgraded their entire network of 60 routers in about 3.5 minutes.
Wow.
A project that in the past would have taken months and been wildly capital intensive. So flexibility is absolutely paramount when it comes to open networking. You also have lower costs, generally speaking, because you have that flexibility. It keeps the vendors competitive with each other. So they're constantly looking at how they can be more cost effective to deliver solid solutions.
Competition can do some amazing things, can't it?
It can.
And in some specific areas of this industry, they haven't always been there. You mentioned rip and replace. I was just thinking to myself, everybody in this industry could use a little R&R, but not that R&R.
Different kind of R&R.
A different kind, yeah. Well, hey, what are some examples of some of your customers that you've helped that this has been a game changer for them moving to an open network platform?
Sure. So there's a few bigger ones that we're going to be announcing here in the next couple of months that I can't quite get into yet, but a few of the, aside from the tier one operators that have moved to open networks in general, RocNet has helped companies like Vive Broadband upgrade to they have a 100 gig aggregation network running all on open networking. Adams Cable in Pennsylvania did a 400 gig backbone solution across their entire network with an open network solution. And then Unity Fiber has a upcoming merger acquisition with Windstream, which is going to put them in one of the larger backbone operators and backbone and edge operators in the US. They have made a strong transition away from one of the big traditional vendors to open network solutions over the last couple of years. So, I mean, it's gaining momentum. We're seeing every day more operators, maybe not making the cut today, but they want to know about it because there's the early adopters that have already kind of led the way here. And next is going to come mainstream adoption because I believe this is the way networking is going to be deployed in the future. I mean, it's really the wave that what we're seeing here.
What are some of the barriers to get that adoption to drive even further? Are they physical? Are they psychological, administrative? What are some of those barriers that you've identified and that you have to overcome?
Yeah, there's a few. There's still room for a lot more growth in that vendor space. There's a relatively small number of vendors in the open network space as it stands today that it's growing. But I think to really see widespread adoption, we need to keep growing that space. The number of vendors with different specialized technologies, we need that to really increase before we see that wider adoption. Within our customer base, within generally the service providers, I think a lot of it is just education. This is a new technology. It's a new concept. It's something that we need to educate people on what it is. What are the truths? What are the myths? What are maybe some of the challenges that they will face with adopting something like this? But it's change, right? Change is never necessarily easy. There's the old saying, nobody ever got fired for buying Cisco. That's probably true. but maybe nobody ever got promoted for not looking at something new either. So
Right.
we're looking at, okay, how can we incorporate this into some of those bulletproof, really strong networks that are already out there? We have a lot of customers that are a little hesitant to doing that. So we're starting to introduce this and maybe start with smaller areas of the network, the edge layer, aggregation layer, before they look at widespread adoption for their own networks. So it's like anything new, it takes time, it takes comfortability. That a lot of the work that we are doing is exactly that, though. We're doing the qualification, the validation, the testing to try to eliminate any of those challenges so that we can address those challenges before our customers, the operators, don't have to worry about those challenges.
Right.
They're challenges that we can address.
And you're representing them. You're not representing the manufacturer. You're there for the operator or the customer so that you can be there. You can give them the brutal, honest truth about what works and what doesn't. That's kind of nice to have, as opposed to just trusting what the vendor rep is telling you.
We consider ourselves relatively vendor agnostic. We're looking for what's the best solution for the specific challenge, right? Maybe it's not something that we have. We're a small company. It's a small portfolio.
Sure.
We don't necessarily have something for everyone. So we're looking for what's the best overall solution.
Excellent. And as you guys look, do you see a lot of growth in RocNet Supplies in your binoculars looking down the road ahead? Are you trying to control that growth, or do you see yourselves as being small and agile and growing only to the point where you're still comfortable doing the job right?
So we started the company. It was two of us. It was myself, my business partner, Pete Wells. It was the two of us in my dining room. We had a couple of computers and a couple of cell phones, and that was virtually it. We bootstrapped the company. We've never taken outside funding. We operate debt free, so it's allowed us to grow, but grow the right way, where we're building the right things for our customers. So now we have about 40 employees. We've got 2 warehouses, one here in Rochester, New York, one in Reno, Nevada. I expect us to continue growing at a controlled pace. We're not going to take on funding somewhere that's going to put us at $1 billion company tomorrow. That wouldn't do our customers service. It wouldn't be the right thing for them. So we really like working with the small operators. I feel like we understand them well. We know their challenges, we know their needs, and we can do that because we're also a small company. So we'll continue growing steadily, but really we want to help our customers grow. So what can we do to help them grow? What can we do to invest in them? What can we do to help educate our customers? And that will in turn allow us to grow.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of sustainable growth. You sure see a lot of growth in the industry on all levels that is unsustainable. And it's nice to see when companies know that sometimes slow and steady wins the race. So it's been great. Closing remarks, Mike, what's the last thing you'd like to leave with the members of the CBAN community and others that are watching this as they're getting to know RocNet Supply? Kind of what's your closing argument, so to speak?
Yeah, we're here to talk. We're approachable. We help our customers solve somewhat unique and somewhat complex problems. That's what we're really good at. We like it. We like, bring us something funky, bring us something weird that you guys need a solution with. And our goal, our job is to help find creative solutions to those problems. So we're looking forward to doing more and more business in the service provider industry as we continue to grow. And we're looking forward to meeting new people and connecting with new folks.
Great. Well, we're so glad to have you part of the CBAN community, and we thank you for your support there. And it's been great sharing some time. You and I have been trying to get this done for a while. We keep
we made it happen.
Our calendars clash, but I'm so glad we could finally nail it down and get you on video talking about RocNet Supply.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Mike.
Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate the time.
You bet. Our guest today on this edition of Member Spotlight has been Mike Baker with RocNet Supply. We'll be back with our next edition soon. Stay in touch with us here at CBAN. If you ever need anything, just go to our website. You'll learn all you need to know about what we're doing at Community Broadband Action Network. I'm Curtis Dean. Have a great day.